up, you Democratic documentary watchers? It's Arbdog coming at you with a different video to start off the new year of 2021. I'm actually going to start doing reaction videos, and this is my first one. So welcome and enjoy. Today I'm going to be reacting to the documentary called Totally Under Control, which is a documentary about how the USA and the Trump administration handled the novel coronavirus. I don't particularly like Trump, so I've been very excited to watch this documentary and just see what else he's done that I dislike, or even just be reminded of the things that he did that were just so stupid. Yeah, so let's do it. Before we start the video, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel, so just in case I make more reaction videos, you can catch them. And also, just in case I make more, board game, card game videos as well, because I do plan on it. I really do, but I just have not been playing card games recently. Okay, so yeah, make sure you hit subscribe, and then we will be best friends.
In the first 3 months of the pandemic, 30 million people lost their jobs.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? This is their new hoax.
Okay, so like Trump saying that the Democrats are the ones politicizing the coronavirus. Like, okay, so I also watched this documentary called, or a mockumentary called Death 2020 on Netflix. And I mean, it shows us how politics is so involved in everything. And I also just recently learned this, like in North America, so in Canada, United States, that sort of thing, politicians have their hand in every single decision, every single thing that gets done. And so it's kind of hilarious to me that he's saying the Democrats are doing that when, like, you are in power, Trump, and you're the Republicans, and you're being pretty vocal. You and your people are being pretty vocal about what you feel about coronavirus, and you're the ones making the decisions. So
who's scared of coronavirus?
Let go of my fucking dog! Retort me, dog! Without being forced to participate in a false flag pandemic.
It's just so hard to watch that, because this is like actual people at like the fucking lowest of their humanity, and it sucks to see that. Like, I can handle Trump being a dumbass and, like, a bigot and stuff like that, but I can't handle like regular everyday people attacking each other.
I'm Scott Becker. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Public Health Laboratories.
How about this? Now this is really something.
It's an actual board game.
Oh my god, no way, a board game?
And I'm like, we're living through it. I don't need the game.
And when did you first hear about the coronavirus?
It was January 7th, I believe, that I first communicated with some of our staff.
It's crazy that it was like exactly a year ago. Same time this year. Same time last year.
Our economy is booming, wages are rising, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, and America is the envy of the entire world.
The whole impeachment thing is a hoax.
Can you really call impeachment a hoax? Aren't like theories and stuff supposed to be questioned as hoaxes, not like actual physical actions being taken against somebody?
I covered all of Barack Obama's 2 terms, so I was there during the Zika outbreak, the Ebola response.
I didn't even realize how many like viruses and like things like that Barack Obama had to deal with during his presidency.
One of the first indications that the United States government had that this was a potential problem was a conversation that the CDC director, a guy named Robert Redfield, had with his counterpart, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Gao, who was essentially the head of the Chinese CDC. And that occurred on January 3rd. Gao basically said, look, this is really serious. You need to be aware of this. It's not something we've ever seen before.
I've been at BARDA for about 10 years in the Department of Health and Human Services. BARDA's role is to lead the development between government and industry of vaccines, drugs, and diagnostic tests. But anyone who'd worked in preparing for pandemic outbreaks knew that we were dealing with something very unusual, very concerning, and very deadly.
Dr. Lee's training allows her to act like a canary in a coal mine. She's world famous for the way her mathematical modeling can predict the likely spread of disease and assess the risk of a pandemic.
I have built so many models to describe many different types of diseases. When you see the first case, it does not mean you only have first case. It means you have one case plus many other cases that you don't see.
So did the government have some kind of plan or playbook that they could look to in the event of something like this?
There's absolutely a playbook. And we actually use those playbooks to exercise what we would do in an emerging viral pandemic the fall before this virus emerged.
Crimson Contagion was a federal government exercise conducted with 12 states. It simulated a pandemic with eerie similarities to the coronavirus that was to come.
We would have disaster leadership group meetings where we would bring together the Health and Human Services network of experts. And the ASPR would convene these meetings.
Who was in fact the ASPR?
The ASPR was Dr. Bob Kadlec.
26-year Air Force veteran, Kadlec was a specialist in biological and chemical weapons. As ASPR, he downplayed the danger of pandemics, cut spending on emerging infectious diseases, and his office eliminated a program to manufacture N95 masks.
January 18th, I asked Dr. Kadlec if we could convene a disaster leadership group meeting. To my shock, his response was, I don't see a sense of urgency.
The same day Rick Bright reached out to Kadlec, Kadlec's boss, Alex Azar, did try to get the president's attention.
That's such a funny photo.
After the previous secretary had resigned in scandal, Azar was appointed to bring a businessman's approach to government. As a former big pharma executive at Eli Lilly, Azar was infamous for having tripled the price of insulin.
What a perfect person to have in the government.
We, the government, do not have the solutions to healthcare. We're usually the cause of the problems.
No, you are the cause of the problem.
Someone self-identifies, says, hey, I just flew in from Wuhan and I have a fever.
CDC also sent a team out immediately upon that confirmation.
They looked at all of his contacts and there was no onward transmission. We never identified another case in the state of Washington until the last week of February.
But if you recall, he was not tested until 4 days after when he became ill, and he took a share ride back home from the airport. He had lunch with his colleagues, and he did a lot of things within 4 days. And so I estimate that that is at least in the orders of 2,000 people that has to be tested, and so we end up missing a lot of the cases.
The delusion was that the first COVID patient was the only one. In fact, the disease was already spreading inside the United States. The challenge for scientists was to convince politicians to mobilize the country to fight a virus no one could see. In a meeting on January 23rd, Rick Bright made his pitch to Alex Azar.
I raised the need to get started immediately on commercial test development, drugs, and vaccines, and the need for money to do it. The secretary looked at me and said, "Do you need money?" I said, "Yes." I learned after that meeting, actually, that a lot of people were pretty offended that I would come into a meeting with the secretary on day one and ask for money. In fact, I wasn't invited back to those meetings for some time.
That's exactly what I mean, is like politics getting involved. Like, this is literally a matter of a pandemic. Like, people are going to die if these actions aren't taken, unnecessarily die. And this dude's just like, ugh, that's so rude that he came and asked me for money. It's just so stupid. Like, that's not the focus here, man. It's not the priority.
South Korea reacted very differently.
When it came to this disease response here in South Korea, the politicians largely stayed out of the response, and it was left in the hands of professionals.
That's amazing.
By January 27th, South Korea was on its way to containing the virus and preventing an economic shutdown. In the United States, Azar continued to emphasize the response that had so pleased President Trump. We've got this.
The playbook for responding to an infectious disease outbreak is relatively simple and multi-tiered. You identify cases, isolate people, diagnose them, and treat them. Then you track down all of the contacts of the infected person, and you do the same with those people and the same with contacts of contacts, if necessary.
It sounded like a perfect plan, but it was missing a key detail. There was no comprehensive national testing and tracing program. Even so, the CDC stuck to a version of the script drafted by Azar.
Right now, there is no spread of this virus in our communities here at home.
Appointed by Trump after his predecessor left in disgrace, Redfield was a controversial virologist who had no experience leading a public health agency. During the AIDS crisis, he preached a religious approach, calling for abstinence as a solution. With his former assistant, Deborah Birx, Redfield's attempts to push an unproven HIV vaccine were twice investigated for scientific misconduct.
Okay, I'll say it. What the hell? Why would you get seemingly probably a dude that doesn't even believe in science to be the director of the CDC? Why? I'll tell you why. Because Trump's a dumbass, okay? Holy shit. That's like hiring a child to be the head of the adults committee.
Hello, my name is Timmy Nautikid, and I'm here for the Adults Committee convention. I'm the CEO.
What the like, seriously? That doesn't make any sense at all. Oh my god, this is so frustrating.
Donald Trump is a president who has expressed an incredible disdain for science since before he took office. Certainly, many of the people at the CDC saw Redfield as not having the kind of backbone that they would like to have seen in a CDC director to stand up to the president.
I wouldn't say he's only missing a backbone. I think he's also missing the brain to be a CDC director.
Some scientists were willing to push back. Public health officials from around the country shared doubts that the CDC was responding to the virus with enough speed and concern. They circulated an email chain which included Trump officials called Red Dawn.
That email chain, it's a group of former and current state and local officials within the federal government.
These are all very dear colleagues that have been in public health and emergency response for a long time.
Just imagine being like this big enough name that people are just like, hey, we're having a huge problem. I bet this person could help, you know? That's like low-key the goal. I just want to be the superhero that a group of other superheroes reach out to.
Okay, team, we've got a real toughie ahead of us. We've never seen anything like this before. Mojo Jojo is now 1 foot taller, and he's going after the glass buildings. We're gonna have to call in for backup. I think this looks like a job for Arbdog.
Okay guys, thanks for watching. That's going to be part 1 for the Arbdog reacts to Totally Under Control video. If you guys want to check out part 2, please find it on my channel and click that thing. Okay. Also, yeah, please just comment below anything that you guys want me to react to. I will pick and choose, of course. But yeah, I'd love to see your guys' comments. Okay, bye!